The Battle of France, which took place in the spring of 1940 and involved the Allied powers and German forces, stands as a pivotal moment in World War II. This battle decisively reshaped the strategic landscape of Europe and laid the groundwork for future conflicts. This video dives into the major events, strategies, and outcomes of the battle, offering insight on its significance in shaping the course of the war. The origins of the Battle of France may be traced back to the end of World War I, when the Treaty of Versailles imposed harsh terms on Germany, thereby setting the stage for future conflicts. The ascent of Adolf Hitler to power in Germany in 1933 and his belligerent expansionist policies escalated tensions throughout Europe. Hitler was even more emboldened by the 1939 signature of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact between the Soviet Union and Germany, which ultimately resulted in the invasion of Poland and the outbreak of World War II. Amid rising tensions, Britain and France made preparations for a potential conflict with Germany. However, their strategies were influenced by the trauma of World War I, leading to a defensive mindset and reliance on traditional military techniques. France constructed the Maginot Line, a line of formidable fortifications along its border with Germany, while Britain focused on expanding its naval and air forces. Under the direction of General Erich von Manstein, German military strategists came up with the audacious plan to invade through the Ardennes forest instead of the highly fortified Maginot Line. This plan, known as the Blitzkrieg or the Lightning War, aimed to achieve quick breakthroughs using the massive speed and agility of German panzer divisions, synchronization of mechanized troops, and air support to infiltrate enemy territory, dismantle defensive formations, and surround opposing military units. The goal was to create chaos and confusion among enemy ranks by concentrating firepower at strategic locations and exploiting weaknesses in enemy defenses. This plan was a departure from traditional warfare tactics, emphasizing mobility, flexibility, and innovation. Famous German general Heinz Guderian, an early pioneer of Blitzkrieg, once said, "In the world of tanks, speed means survival." German forces launched their Blitzkrieg onslaught on May 10, 1940, taking the Allies by surprise. Belgium and the Netherlands were promptly and effectively attacked using a combination of air attacks, parachute drops, and ground assaults, resulting in the rapid defeat of their defensive fortifications. The Germans achieved a crucial victory by capturing the strategically important Belgian fort of Eben-Emael, which would ultimately facilitate their advancement. On the same day, the German forces, led by General Heinz Guderian, advanced into the neighboring French territory with a formidable number of tanks, infantry, and artillery. The Germans were further assisted by their air supremacy. A major turning point in the German invasion of France came with the start of the Battle of Sedan on May 12. The German forces successfully breached the French defensive lines and were now in a position to encircle the Allies. Eventually, the city of Sedan was seized by the Germans. The capture of Calais on May 27, 1940, was the final nail in the coffin for the Allies, as the German forces had now completely surrounded them, shutting off their access to the sea. The British Expeditionary Force was trapped, along with the remains of the Belgian forces and the 3 French armies, in an area along the coast of northern France and Belgium. Without informing the French, the British began planning for Operation Dynamo, a frantic attempt to rescue the trapped troops. In one of his most renowned speeches, made to the House of Commons on June 4, 1940, Winston Churchill said, "We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets, we shall fight in the hills, we shall never surrender." In a spectacular display of organization and logistics, the British managed to evacuate nearly 338,000 men in only 9 days. Despite valiant efforts by the Royal Navy and private vessels, around 40,000 French and British men were left behind and captured by the Germans. On June 5, Hitler stated, "Dunkirk has fallen. With it has ended the greatest battle of world history. Soldiers, my confidence in you knew no bounds. You have not disappointed me." Upon nearing the suburbs of Paris on June 14, the Germans faced no resistance as the French government had already fled the capital. Eventually, France surrendered on June 22, which marked a humiliating defeat for the Allies. Belgium, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, and France were all conquered by German forces in a span of only 6 weeks. In late June, France signed an armistice, leaving Great Britain as the sole country battling Nazi Germany. Hitler's choice to sign the armistice in the same train car where Germany had surrendered in 1918 showed the magnitude of France's defeat and how the balance of power in Europe was shifting. France's performance in World War II has been subject to extensive analysis and debate, including several alternative strategies and results that may have occurred in retrospect. While France possessed enormous military capability, its strategic mistakes and leadership errors eventually led to its downfall. In this part of the video, we will look into how France could have potentially altered its approach to the conflict and achieved different results. Reassessment of defensive strategy. The ineffectiveness of France's static Maginot Line defense against the fluid tactics of the German Blitzkrieg was evident. To strengthen its defensive posture, France could have considered deploying mobile reserves and fortified positions beyond the Maginot Line. This approach would have provided greater adaptability in the face of German advances and reduced the likelihood of being outmaneuvered. Had France adopted a more dynamic defensive strategy during the early phases of the war, it might have been possible to more effectively utilize its military capabilities and potentially alter the course of events. Embracing mechanized warfare. The French army, armed with superior tanks and armored divisions, had the potential to leverage mechanized combat to its advantage. By decentralizing command structures and prioritizing rapid, coordinated moves, they might have used its superior tank technology to outmaneuver and overwhelm the opposing German troops. This adjustment in approach would have enabled France to exploit the full potential of its armored divisions, delivering devastating blows to the enemy while retaining the capacity to adjust and respond effectively in the field. Leadership and strategic visions. The military leadership of France during World War II was criticized for its lack of audacity and strategic insight. Visionary leaders like Charles de Gaulle could have revitalized France's war effort by advocating for inventive strategies and flexible approaches. His focus on contemporary warfare and the need for decisive leadership struck a chord with the necessity for a change in mentality from defensive to offensive operations. Intelligence and reconnaissance. The failure of France to foresee the German movements, specifically through the Ardennes Forest, emphasizes the dire necessity for strong intelligence and reconnaissance capabilities to function effectively in military scenarios. Even 80% of the French tanks were without radios, since the French military's war doctrine was based on cautious and meticulous adherence to planned maneuvers. Fear of being tapped by the Germans was also a major element in this. Enhanced investment in intelligence, aerial observation, and ground reconnaissance could have provided crucial early warning of German intentions and weaknesses. Coordination with allies. The coordination with Allied powers, especially Britain, was critical to France's strategic resilience throughout World War II. Stronger coordination between the Allies and their intelligence partners would have strengthened their response to German aggression. A united front against the shared adversary may have integrated collective capabilities and resources, posing a more formidable barrier to German advances. Strategic deployment of forces. France's commitment to protecting Belgium and the Netherlands, although justified from a political and diplomatic viewpoint, stretched its military forces thin and exposed key flaws in its defensive strategy. A more cautious deployment of soldiers, focused on essential objectives and defensive strongholds, may have maximized France's military power. Psychological warfare and morale. The psychological aspect of warfare cannot be overlooked. The leadership of France was unable to instill a feeling of assurance and solidarity, thus allowing a sense of defeatism to spread across its ranks. France could have galvanized its people for the difficulties ahead by focusing on psychological warfare tactics, cultivating a sense of national pride and enhancing morale via effective communication and strong leadership. While all these alternative courses of action would have offered their own set of problems and uncertainties, a more decisive and creative approach to military preparation and execution may have potentially changed the outcome of the war. In conclusion, we can say that the Battle of France had a huge impact on the course of World War II. The German victory and the fall of France both highlighted the effectiveness of Blitzkrieg tactics and the limitations of traditional defensive strategies.